3D Skeleton Cameo Acrylic Pendant Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Hello everyone! In today's video I'm going to be making another cameo, so this is my third cameo. This one is going to be a skull that's got that black background with the white skull skeleton figure in front of it. It's really pretty. It's good for Halloween or really any other time of the year if you're kind of on the dramatic side as I am. So I really like this. I hope you do too. And I'd also quickly like to mention that it is available on my online store, so if you are interested in that, check it out. There's a link in the description box below. And don't forget to click subscribe to see my future videos as well. The first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding a layer of black acrylic to the inside of my frame. And my black acrylic, it's not the best. It causes me some grief, and it's not very good at self-leveling, so it always seems to be a little lumpy. And so I was working in very small beads in this particular moment just to try to keep it as thin as possible and not have it set before I was ready. And so I'm just going to add that and fill it in where I'm just here and there. If you watched my other cameo video, or my other pendant cameo video where I made the mermaid, you'll see that that blue I used just filled in so much smoother and it just worked so much better. My black acrylic has a mind of its own sometimes, but what can you do? And now I'm going to be adding a layer of clear acrylic over the black. This is going to add some thickness and bring the black up to the level of the edge of the frame. If you wanted to, you could do this whole part with black acrylic or with the blue for the other one as well if you watch that one. I have more clear acrylic, and so I figured I would use it. It's less expensive, and so as far as product use goes, I try to use acrylic that's clear to add the thickness to everything, and just use color acrylic to give it the color. And now I'm going to be adding a layer of gel over the top of it, and I'm using Madame Glam's gel top coat because it is so thick, and in this case it adds a gorgeous rounded self-leveling quality that I was really going for. And then I cured that, and now I missed this first step of sculpting my skeleton, and I'm so sorry. So I began around her eye area, and I first sculpted that out, and then I worked my way down her chin. And then I looked at my camera and I saw that, hey, I wasn't actually recording this. So I apologize. But yeah, what can you do? So now I'm going to be working on her neck bones. And for this whole part, you want to keep it thin, your whole 3D art, because if you have it thin, especially if you're using, I'm using C&D's white acrylic, and it's not super opaque. There's definitely products out there that have higher opacity. Mine is definitely on the lower end of things, which I like, because for 3D art, and especially for doing these cameos, if it's super opaque, you can't get that translucency and the delicate quality that you really kind of want to go for when you're doing these. And having that acrylic, it definitely helps that. And it's not like it's practically clear. It's opaque if it's thick enough, but if it is really thin little layers, it has a slightly transparent appearance, which, yeah, I like it. So I skipped over speaking. I added just sort of a abstract collarbone shape, and then I'm going to go through and do her hair. And so I placed down a bead, and then with the very tip of my brush, and this is extremely wet acrylic, then I just drag it through it and make little strands of hair individually, just to work through that. And then you can sort of tuck them in because they're going to slide against that gel base. They're going to have like a slippery background that you can sort of mold them and adjust them much easier than you would have been able to if it did not have that really shiny, slippery surface. And then once you have her hair in place, just fix it up, add hair to their forehead area down below, go back and forth as much as you need to, do what you have to do to make it look how you have it envisioned in your head. And then I'm going to start adding the buns of hair. So I'm just going to take a wet bead and place that down, and then I'm going to pat it out a little bit. And I added another one here, as you can see. Don't do that if you're like me. It sets before you're ready for it, and there's no point. But then take the tip of your brush and sort of almost sculpt them into little roses. So just draw out the shapes, and as you can see, I decided, I'm like, nope, not gonna work. And then I went and I just re-added that. The acrylic was far too set by the time I got back to it that it just wasn't working for me. And then I'm gonna go through and draw out my little rose pattern with the very tip of my brush. And if you don't want to use the tip of your brush, if it doesn't have the right shape or whatever the reason, you could go through and instead use a toothpick or a safety pin or a just anything that has sort of a pokey shape if you are going to use something like that. However, I would recommend dipping it into a powder, like just acrylic powder, either clear or white. That's going to prevent the acrylic from sticking to it and hopefully give you an easier time of drawing out these shapes, but I would use a brush if you have it at your disposal. And now I'm just going to add a couple more of those little rose patterns on the other side to help balance it out. So I'm going to do this one at a time, as I have learned is necessary, and put that down, draw out the shapes with the tip of your brush, and then add a couple more partial ones to the side. And so I added the first one, that's the largest, where I thought I was going to center my little roses on the other side, and later on I decided I actually want to do 4, but I still wanted that to be the thick point. So just every one you add beyond that first one you made, make sure that you use less acrylic each time and make them smaller. So now with white paint, I'm going to be highlighting my skeleton lady, and as I mentioned with my C&D acrylic, this white is not bright white, and so I have the ability to highlight it with white paint, which also helps with that delicate nature that a cameo has and makes it look more like it's carved out of stone instead of, I don't know, being sculpted out of a very opaque product like certain brands of white acrylic. And I'm just going to sort of wash over everything, and it's going to hit the high points on its own, but I'm going to help it out a little bit with a full strength white and just highlight a couple areas that needed a little bit more. Add a couple highlights on her hair, make sure that looks nice and dimensional. On her neck bones, and the little rosettes on the other side of it, and just anywhere where you see that you think it needs to, and then apply matte top coat over all the 3D art, really focusing on the areas where you used acrylic paint. And that's it. And thank you so much for watching. As I mentioned, it might still be available, so check out the link below to see if it's still in my store, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!